fact-finding group.
And I knew when she said it,
excellent.
but when she came in, I could not remember. I need everyone to wear name tags.
We should have had them
I have to remember.
tomorrow.
So, you want me to start out?
Yes, please.
Okay, so this year's a little bit different. I'm going to give you some information before we go into this process. Trina over the last year has been conducting community conversations. Has anybody been in one of her community conversations? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you have? So our community conversation, she asked 4 main questions, and you've had, I don't even know how many people. A lot of groups here. In fact, tomorrow morning we'll have one with 7 people, and the mayor will be here.
So that'll make 146 people who've done it so far.
Great. So just listening, she asked 4 specific questions. We were trying to figure out what people want from us because we are changing our business model. This process next year will look nothing like it does this year, and we are going to have your panel chairs help us with revamping because we only have this much brain power as a small 3-person staff here. So we're going to require a lot of help from volunteers. So if you're interested on how we change our process, we'd love to have you involved. So these community conversations then went to a 4-group session. Each of those sessions had about 50 community members within them, and they took all the comments. These are the people that took a part in the 4. The other ones, they brought the information to these people. So we are gathering data, and what it's doing is it's showing us where the community wants us to focus our funding in the future and how we're going to solve community problems. We're not going to spitball funding. We are going to change and make our community a better place based on what people in the community have told us they want us to do. Mostly on a collective impact. That's meaning, hello, come on in. So the collective impact approach is people working together to get things done. And we'll provide guidance to the nonprofit community as we switch to this model. But we're excited. It works across the nation. For the last 20 years, United Way Worldwide has been moving to a collective impact. In fact, grant funders all over the nation are moving to collective impact instead of just funding one thing. They're funding an issue to get things done. So we're hoping to make some progress on that. So this we provided you with some guidance. Just to show, we always say we're going to meet an unmet need in the community, but we want to share this with you to look where we're going to in the future. Our process, I'm sorry, I kind of went off. So we came up with this. Our mission's the same. Our We Believe statement is from the staff. We believe all people should have the opportunity to be educated, engaged, and prosperous, and this is the vision the community has come up with for us. That was through this process. And then these are the main focus areas. Well, we've always done basic need, prosperity, education, and income, or health. And these, the highlighted ones are the ones that they feel are the most specific of what they want us to do in the community and come up with solutions. I should be doing this so I know where I am. I'm talking fast. I did this at the city commission last night and I talked really fast too. But this is an exciting process to me because our board is going to go into strategic planning. We are going to have a great plan ahead of us, and we're going to do amazing things as a nonprofit collective. There are 450 nonprofits in our community. So if we all work together, because a lot of us have the same goal, ultimate goals, if we work together, we are going to get things done. So that's that. So that's what United Way is about. And then we'll go from here. So United Way funding. So we have our fall campaign, and this year is the last year you're going to see a thermometer with a dollar sign on it. We are switching our focus. It's not about the dollars, it's about the people, and that's the straight up focus of our future here at United Way. But right now, this year, we have our donor designated dollars. So United Way donor designated dollars are, if you said you wanted your dollars out of your paycheck to go to food share or to Exploration Works, or you specifically said where you wanted your funds to go to one of these nonprofits on the wall. We also have funds that people say, you can donate to the Humane Society through us. If you tell us the money has to go there, we legally are responsible for making sure it gets there, and that's what makes finances crazy. We also blend in the donor designated with the Montana State Charitable Giving Campaign. So Sam is a state employee. How do I give to United Way? Well, do this. Or how do I give to one of our, what we call affiliates, which would be like Exploration Works, where Nikki's from, or Food Share, all of those. Combined federal campaign, sad state of affairs there. Same thing, federal campaign employee is money that we pass through to our partner agencies. The rare thing about United Way with these, we take nothing off the top. So if you were to give to another federation is what they call them, another United Way, Montana Shares, Earth Share, they take a percentage off the top to administrate it. We do not do that because we see that as we already get paid through an RFP at the state. We're not going to take additional funds. So it's 100% to our nonprofit partners. And then we have, and the federal campaign is going to probably cease to exist next year. They now charge the nonprofits to be a part of it. And it's outrageous. I think they were going to charge me $7,000 to have United Way and all of our partner agencies. We raised $11,000.
Wow.
So that's going to probably go away. And community impact funds. So that's where the community says, hey, I don't know, I love all your partner agencies. I love what you do in the community. You figure out where my money is going to be best utilized in the community, and that's where you guys come in. So you are the driving force. You're going to rank these applications. You're going to vet these agencies. You're going to see all the good work they do. So let's see if there's anything else. I'm going to turn it over to Trina, because Trina, in the past this has been a marketing position, but Trina gets to work with all the partners, the community conversations, so she's the brilliant one on staff. She's the brains, I'm the brawn. Okay,
Trina. So, this year, we received, we did our applications a little differently this year. We asked people if they wanted to just apply to get donor choice funds, and 10 of our partners said yes, we would like to just do that. It was an easier application, and they're going through an easier process of assessment. And so you will not see those 10 organizations in your list of panels. We have one new partner applicant, and that's Child Care Connections. And that application will be vetted by a separate group as well. So you won't have to worry about that. And then we had 28 organizations apply to get, they'll always get their donor choice, no matter what, always. But they're also applying to get extra funds to do a project or to staff an important position. And so that is what you're going to be looking at. And we have 8 panels. Some of them, 4 of them have 3 organizations each, and 4 of them have 4 organizations each. So after we're done going through this, I will, because I can't see my screen, so I think it would be too confusing for me anyway. Sorry, it's very selfish. But I will show you this after we're done. We have put all of the materials you're going to need on a password-protected web page. And if there are things that you need that aren't there, let me know, and I will put them up there. But we've got the scoring sheets and the scoring matrices and all the applications and all of this stuff that you have before you. So the information will be electronically available, and that is the password. I will share it with you again, but it is in your PowerPoint. So
Do you need me to do a sign-in sheet so we make sure we have everyone's
yeah,
email?
that'd be awesome. Thank you. That is always what I forget. But just so that maybe it'll be a mnemonic for you. Basically, United Way of Lewis and Clark Area, UWLCA, Citizen Review, CR 2017. That's the password, UWLCA CR 2017. So now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of what you do. So for those of you who have done this before, last year was kind of the first time we had a scoring matrix, and we added some layers of assessment so that it wasn't just reading applications and going, well, I think that was all right. I think they're a good organization. It had some actual measurement associated with funding. And so this is your score sheet. Okay, there is going to be a scoring matrix as well, which is an Excel sheet where you'll add numerical points into the sheet. But I think your panel chairs will probably do that. So if you want to look at this, the very first thing is that you're going to learn what panels you're on today, and I'll make sure that you have access to that information so you don't just hear it one time. But if you can read, it's actually vital that you read the applications before you go to the interviews. So interviews happen in April, and your panel chairs are going to call the agencies, ask them when they're available. They're going to get a hold of you and ask when you're available, and they're going to set up some times to go interview. Before you do that, we're asking you to assess the application and give it points, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But there's one thing you don't need to worry about, because probably even if you're in the banking industry, you may not be familiar with nonprofit financials. There are a lot of numbers in them. And we have a volunteer who's a financial expert, Brad Lancaster. He is going to act as a super reviewer for every single agency's financials. And he's going to provide the panel chairs with the questions that he would ask of each organization. That doesn't mean you can't look at the financials, by all means, but if you're uncomfortable with that part, take heart that you are not going to have to learn how to read an audit in 2 weeks. Nikki, did you have a question?
I don't think I got that.
Oh dear, that will never do.
But I don't want to take yours.
Oh no, I have 757 of them up here.
Thank you.
It's okay. So, okay, so the score sheet. And if you did this last year, this is the same process. So the applications are divided into parts, and they've answered some questions. And the first part, if they've answered the questions, all of them, it's 2 points, and if they miss something, it's 0 points. Very straightforward. It's just contact information and their EIN, their tax number. Is that what EIN is? Employer information number? I don't know.
It's a social security number.
That's how I should not be trusted with financials right there. So, the social security number for the organization? Awesome. Okay. And then so on and so forth. So the next part is agency governance. And that's the board of directors discussion. Do they have you want to talk a little bit about governance?
So board governance is one of those tricky matters, because depending on the board, there are many different types of boards. So all volunteer-driven organizations, many times what you would consider the executive director is the president. So these are the rules of being a good governance board. But all volunteer organizations many times have family members on them. There's husbands and wives, and the board president is running the organization. There's no compensation. So that's kind of the key. There's no compensation, so that's pretty much okay on an all volunteer-driven board. It comes up every single year, so it happens. That's kind of how nonprofits start. Family foundations are a little different. Family foundations, they're providing 50% of their funding to the nonprofit, and they are ran by family members. But the thing that you have to think of is organizational compared to family foundation. It's very complicated. And how compensation works is complicated on that too. I only have one panel that has this situation, and we will discuss it further with them. So then there's also just a regular nonprofit. You should have, and I should have Nikki do this. She's like the master of it. You should have your regular board governance. You should have one person that knows financials very well. You should have board meetings at least quarterly. You should be approving financials on a quarterly basis. 100% of your board should be donating in all reality. And whether that's time is not always, we ask our board to give what they can give, but that does mean a monetary contribution. No matter how small, it shows that you believe in the organization, and many granting organizations require it. I'm trying to think of what other things that I might be missing.
Well, when you talk about like for example, when you talk about a family foundation, and you talk about like have a system in place for board member rotation and policies to avoid nepotism and conflicts of interest. So
I should have that up. Oh, yep,
would there be an explanation if it happens to be a family foundation, or should we just say, oh, it's the family that runs it, so maybe this doesn't apply to them?
Well, so I've been trying to work through this, and I think that every organization, and Nikki, you might know better than me, because Nikki has more experience, and I think that you should always have an operations board if you're a family foundation
Okay.
running a nonprofit.
Okay.
You should have 2 boards then, because your executive director should not be making financial decisions for the executive director's pay when they're the president of the board.
Yeah.
That's kind of an example, so.
And then let's say and that would be something we'd come to our panel person to about, saying, I don't really, what do you think about this kind of thing?
So this process is to help the nonprofit know what would be the right way to run if there's something better. I mean, like, I have one board member that didn't give this year. So what am I gonna do? Say if we require every board member to give at our partner agencies, then that's best practices. This is what we should be doing, and I think that goes the same for our nonprofit partners. And by the way, this is best practices. This is not, I mean,
Yeah.
not rocket science here. I mean, and participate in regular trainings. You should have a board training at least once a year, or some kind of strategic planning session, or something to make sure your board knows exactly how to run. Every year, we have board members apply. In July, we do a board training with all of our current board members and with all our new board members. And it's not only relationship building with them learning how to do their jobs, because they're supposed to run themselves.
And then is that kind of part of United's Way's job when you bring in affiliates to give them guidance about how to be the best nonprofit they can be? I mean, do you give them training, or do you advise them?
When I do my board training, I actually open it up to any nonprofit in the community that wants to take the training. It's not one of those things, so if they're not doing a training, we're providing them every year. So we will continue to provide those trainings when we do our board training, invite other nonprofits to attend. So, yeah, definitely. Take it out. What else? Yeah, and the rotation of board members, that's also something. I mean, you have to have new people on your board, get new people excited about the mission and the activities you're doing, and change. Like, we're going through major change as an organization. It's good to have long-term standing people, but they might be resistant to change. So there's that happy balance. They say I think it's 2 4-year terms with at least a year in between coming back.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, going back to the originals, or the previous point scale slide, these are suggestions, right? So on a scale of 5, as you look at the applicant, if you have questions, you can add those questions, because you're going to get to go to an interview with them. But you can also kind of say, well, I think they're almost great, so that's a 4, a 4.5, or a 4, right? So this is a flexible scale. You don't need to, as long as you stay within the 0 to 5s, you're cool. And so one of you're also going to look at their budget. And some of you are going to be on panels with organizations that are either nationwide organizations or that are very large local organizations. Rocky Mountain Development Council is an example. And RMDC has a lot of programs, and they provided their organizational budget. And so what we really need in this case is to see what their program budget is for each of the programs that they applied for. And the solution is simple. If you want more information from an organization, you tell your panel chair, and we will put in a request to that organization to get more money, more information for you. So we can ask for project budgets or program budgets, whatever you need to understand how the funding request fits into their overall budget. Are there some red flags to look for?
Well, so one of the things that is different this year is if you were part of the process, which I know Chuck, a few of you have been a part of the process long term, we used to do panels of like disability services, and then last year they were all mushered up. This year it was based on number of employees, volunteer driven compared to budget. Oh, it's gone. It was up here earlier today. So that way they're kind of grouped similarly. You can see like if they have a $1.2 million budget, they will be together. Whether they provide services. So you're going to have some things like that. Reserve funds, it's good to have 6 months worth of reserves. That's good. If you have 10 years worth of reserves, whoa, then you, okay. So just kind of, and if you have questions on something, really know that you can send it to Trina. We will get the answer from Brad. So if there's something a little confusing, yeah.
Yes. So, and that's a good thing to reiterate throughout this as well. Any question you have, you can either direct to your panel chair. That's probably the easiest way so that there are fewer emails consolidated, or you can email me.
Sorry.
And no, it's okay. Or you can give a call. We're here to help clarify this process. Clearly. Okay, so as Allison was saying, there are some weird things that folks kind of, they look at nonprofits and they say, are you guys really being efficient with your money? So there's this to-do about nonprofit overhead, and I'm going to post a video. It's a TED Talk, isn't it? It's a TED Talk. About nonprofit overhead on your website. Can you write down that I just said that, please? Yes. Because I will forget that I just said that. Thank you. So,
there's also a good article from Susan Haypatrick,
yes,
who's my mentor out of Missoula United Way. That's a phenomenal article.
We will post that too. That as well.
That's a good idea.
So, in order to do the work nonprofits do, people look at programs, right? Like, oh my gosh, they feed 20,000 people, or oh my gosh, they run 38 different educational programs, and they have one staff member to do it. That staff member is going insane. I will tell you that right now. So overhead, it includes salaries and equipment and...
I have a good example.
Okay.
So there's a small nonprofit that does have one executive director, and they want to retire so bad they could cry. And they're not going to be able to retire because the board will never pay an executive director what that person is getting paid, because they're passionate about the cause and they created the cause. So that nonprofit could cease to exist based on the fact that that happens. And it happens a lot.
Right. And the idea is that we want all of our dollars to go to the people in need, right? But there are people who need to function as program managers and staff to help that happen. So it's okay to have overhead, not 90% overhead, right? Depends.
They're, you know, Westmont, I mean, the people that work at Westmont,
Oh yeah.
$9 an hour, they have 36 open positions right now that they can't staff because people can go to
Right.
McDonald's and work. So our people that are suffering with disabilities are not getting, they don't have enough people to care for them, and that's just not a good quality of life.
Right.
And I think sometimes there's a preconceived notion that if you are a nonprofit, that the people who work there should be working for hardly anything.
Right.
And you want people to, when we went to Big Brothers and Big Sisters, she made a very good point. She wants her people to stay. So she wants, part of her nonprofit is being able to pay her people a wage that they will stay and do great work for her and not leave and go somewhere else because she can't keep them.
A living wage.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. She was, and she really, I really appreciated her including that in her overall vision for that program, was having high quality, highly trained people that are doing the work for her and for the kids.
Cool. That's good to know. Colleen, put that in there. I like that. Okay, so even though Brad Lancaster, the knight in shining armor, is going to review the fiscal capacity and finances, if you want to take a gander, you're still going to have to score this section anyway, and so there is some guidance in the description here on how much information and adequate information was provided? Are they adhering to guidelines? Are they adhering to sound fiscal practices? Is there anything you'd like to? Okay. And again, if there's not adequate information, please ask. Because we also had a weird submission process this year, and some pages went missing from various things. So if there is incomplete information, we can get it for you. It's a haphazard world. Okay, so some general guidelines for what to look for.
We kind of covered this.
Yeah, we did, right. So just to reiterate, if there's a reserve account, if there is a reserve fund, it should cover about 3 to 6 months of expenses and shouldn't exceed 2 years' budget, should be enough to cover at least a month of costs. And it's okay to have reserves. All right. So this is the part of the application where they're going to describe what they do and the programs they provide, how they fit into health, education, prosperity, and basic needs, and what they're asking for the money to do, or what they're going to do with the money if they receive it. So, and this is going to be the meatiest part. The rest is kind of a few pages, right? Well, the audit could be 9,000, but yeah.
We didn't, you don't have to read it.
Okay, you don't have to read it. One of the things, so Allison was saying at the beginning that we're changing the way we do stuff, right? But we haven't changed it yet, right? So even though we'd like you to keep in mind the idea of basic needs and prosperity and education and health and the directions that the community thinks that we should be moving to, we're not in a place where that is absolute law yet, right? It's something to consider, but it's not the rules. So when you assess what they're asking for and what they're doing, think about, this is going to be the interesting part, right? Because you're split into these panels of pretty disparate organizations, and you're going to get to compare projects and programs that all meet a need, right, in the community. What need are they meeting? Is it an urgent one? Is it does it meet multiple needs? Does it address multiple sectors? Oh my gosh, it's education, but it also addresses mental health, and it helps people build prosperity. That's amazing. So, and you're also going to get to learn how these organizations interact with each other, right? So one of the things that we've heard a lot during our community conversation process is that folks in the greater Helena area, in the Tri-County area, would like to see more collaboration because we have 450 nonprofits, right? And it's easy to be very mission focused and very siloed, but if we work together, we can better address all of the big problems, the root causes of the problems that we're facing. So this is a chance for you to start thinking about, how are they collaborating? Are they just working with a whole bunch of people, or did they say, oh my gosh, we do this and this organization does this, and if we work together we could do this? Is that what they're going for? So it's okay,
Nailed it.
all right. But the most important thing in all of that is that they're meeting the guidelines of fitting into health, prosperity, education, or basic needs. Okay. We are at a half an hour, and we swear you will be out by 6:30. Okay. So the logic model. Okay. That's where they say, all right, we're going to do this in this much time, and it's going to yield these results, okay? And I don't think anybody likes them.
Nobody likes
they kind of aren't that much fun. But it's the best way we have right now. I think I'm standing too much in front of that thing. So it's the best way we have right now of assessing outcome. So how many